When you're watching Ratatouille Revisited, guys, it is still hands down the cooking movie, the chef movie. There is no other cooking movie or cooking focused or anything else that comes comparable to Ratatouille. What Pixar have done with this film is nothing pure of just like pure awesome genius. You know what I mean? Not only have they created a lane in which nobody else has been able to replicate, has been able to personify. I mean, they literally created the best cooking story of all time right there, right in the Pixar studios. This is absolutely phenomenal. And I can't believe it has been so long and not another movie really touches this movie. Not another movie comes close to the kind of cooking and the kind of emotional storytelling that this one does. With a beautiful aesthetic to it, with a great story, something that like connects to everybody, something that makes you feel like I need to get into the kitchen and cook, you know what I mean? I need to get into the kitchen and start trying recipes and start trying how to make soup and how to make, ratatouille myself. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just so great in every aspect of it. And I've already talked about this movie, and I think I've done a pretty good job of like sharing my thoughts on the certain on the issue on the story itself. So I guess I'll just kind of talk about the overall cultural impact this movie has really had. It truly is the defining cooking movie that everybody wants to replicate, everybody wants to capture, you know what I mean? And there have been some live action cooking movies, you know what I mean? And they're great, they're really nice. And they're more found in realism, they're more obviously because it's like humans, there's a little bit more connection there, but in all honesty, it's like this movie, it just, this is one of those moments where it's like, it needed to be animated. It needed to be animated, it needed to be colorful, it needed to be so great. And you can tell that Pixar has just been leveling up in all of those aspects, you know what I mean? The water scenes wouldn't be as good if they hadn't worked on Finding Nemo the couple years before, and the color wouldn't be as bright and as vibrant if they didn't play around with the color technology when they made Bugs Life or Monsters Inc. and stuff, or The Incredibles, right? Those kind of bright colors helped them subdue and tone down things for what they needed to be for the darker night scenes, right? Like for the scenes outside when they're what's it called, when he has like Remy in the jar and stuff like that, right? Those nighttime sequences really pop, and they come out really nice because they took all of that time to texturize it and stuff. And then not only that, the way that the humans look also look really great, and that's also because of their work on The Incredibles before. um I would say Cars, but I feel like they already like drew Cars since like Toy Story, so I can't give it up to Cars for that. But you can definitely tell that they've been like just elevating their work. They've definitely been working on it. The texture of the rats and the fur on them look really good because of the work they did on Sully and everybody else on Monsters Inc. that had that fur like quality to them. Um, I don't know who else had that. Who else had that kind of like fur? I'm trying to think. It wasn't Toy Story. I mean, they have the fabric, but it's not the same. I guess the hairs that they worked on for I don't know, The Incredibles, but it wasn't anything too crazy. So overall, I just feel like they've built up to this point. You know what I mean? They've been working on these sequences, on these moments for such a long time, and it just feels like a good like, oh yeah, this is a natural progression of where they are, is being able to make this many humans so distinct and so, I mean, different's the wrong word, but they're able to come across as like individual, you know what I mean, people without making them all like extras of the same boat. And that's the cool thing about 3D animation, is that you can kind of play with the different shapes and sizes, whereas in animation or like in 2D art, for the most part, it's like when they do background, it's just kind of, they all look the same, you know what I mean? They all look pretty similar. And with 3D animation, it's like, yes, they're all in the background, but they're all like technically different. You know what I mean? Some are taller, some are smaller, some are thinner, some are bigger, right? And those unique differences are what kind of set apart 3D animation from the 2D animation, if that makes sense. Because sometimes when you watch like a 2D animation and they have background characters, it's like, ah, well, just draw them all the same, be quick about it and stuff like that. Whereas with this one, it's like you could easily tell that they put time into like, oh, this person's old, this person's young, this person's a kid, this person's an adult, this person's really thin and grumpy looking and has a nasty face about them. This one's a little bit happier, but with a big nose on them. You know what I mean? Those differences come across really well. Not that they don't do it in 2D, but I'm just saying in 3D, it's a lot more. You can see the visual difference, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Anyways, um, this movie is just it's so great because it gives us a character that is lower than us, right? Like if what's it called? Bug's Life. If a Bug's Life was like us relating to the what's it called? The unloved genius. You know what I mean? He's a bug and we can all kind of relate to him and like trying to fit in and not fitting in. And I guess that's kind of what Remy is doing here too. But at the same time, he's not trying to better his community. He's not trying to better the rat community. He's taking his own selfish interests into cooking. You know what I mean? Which is a human profession. Rats, they just go around and they eat whatever, right? They eat garbage, they eat leftovers, they eat scraps, stuff like that. You know what I mean? And so it's really it's really cool to see a character like reach for something so above themselves. You know what I mean? Cooking in a human kitchen in a big restaurant, that's crazy, especially for a rat. Nobody's gonna let Remy cook in the kitchen. But then he takes his chance, he gets discovered, and then he does it. You know what I mean? He just does the cooking. And he's recognized for his talents by one person. And that's all it took for him to get the in. And then he started manipulating the person. And then they started, you know what I mean? Taking it to the next level. And while he couldn't actually be the human, he could pretend to be. You know what I mean? And I think that's the part that Linguini is kind of Remy's mask. You know what I mean? So to speak. It's his, you know, overall functional, like, it's his robot to, like, go out there and do the thing that he's scared of. Like, he's scared to go out there and cook bear, just by himself because he'll be hated. Nobody wants a rat in the kitchen. They'll kill him, you know what I mean? But as Linguini, he gets praised, he gets adored, he gets the restaurant, he gets like a bunch of love and appreciation, and eventually, over time, when all of these great things are happening, he's not happy. And he's not happy because it's not really him, you know? And we see that when Linguini starts accepting the praise, when he starts accepting his position, when he starts reaping, getting all of the benefits that Remy has been drilling into Linguini, helping him with, it's all of a sudden it's kind of like he's being taken for granted. All of a sudden it's like, damn, I'm doing the thing that I love, but nobody recognizes me for me. And that was the powerful part about the end when he comes back and he just like, if he gets killed, he gets killed. You know what I mean? But Linguini stands up for him. And that's the true bond. That's the true friendship that they both have, is that he's willing to stand up for him, And so, after all of that, it's just such a heartwarming story about like going after your dreams, going after what you're passionate about, doing what you love and not caring what people see you as or what people think about you, right? Like, Remy could have ran away and hidden and taken the experience, and he got to live out his dream being in a Gusto restaurant and stuff like that. But he couldn't leave Linguini out there to hang dry. He went back not just because he loves cooking, because he cares about his friend, he cares about the restaurant, and he wants to prove the critic wrong about the food, about the restaurant, about what he can do. So eventually, we see that all that matters is the work. You know what I mean? Like, the work is what really proves itself. It's what proves himself to Anton Ego. It didn't. He was fully prepared to go into that restaurant and to critique the hell out of the food, critique the hell out of Linguini, just to kind of like, oh, you're not good at this. You know what I mean? He's going there with the intention to really like mess up the restaurant and mess up Linguini, just to kind of like show him that like I am right and you're wrong. But it's flipped on him. And when he eats the food and he gets that flashback to when he was a kid, and then he comes back to reality, and then he puts down his pen, he drops his pen, and he's like, forget the notes, forget the criticism, forget any of that. I'm just going to sit here and enjoy this because I love this. He takes one bite and it sent him back in time, and then he needs to eat the whole thing. And it was such a small little portion, but he thoroughly enjoyed it. He licked that plate clean. And man, I think that is just like being able to make people feel something from what you do. It can be cooking, it can be from being a doctor, being a nurse, being a lawyer, right? Like, you can make people feel things about your job, about how good you are. You know what I mean? About the work that you do and the things that you provide to other people, the service that you're able to like help people with. You know what I'm saying? And that's the cool part about all of it, is that Remy was able to evoke, you know what I mean, feelings from Antonigo, from his memory, from his mom's cooking. It tasted just like that. And, rather than make some fine class dining cuisine, he makes a peasant dish, ratatouille. Because everybody had their start at the bottom somewhere, even Antonigo. And just such a great down-to-earth choice from Remy. Whereas, like, somebody from Gusteau would have thought of, like, something else, anything else. You know what I'm saying? So, I just think that the whole story kind of builds up to this idea of, like, finally, going after the thing that you want to do without fear, without being afraid to try it and do it, you know what I mean? And there's going to be a moment for everybody where an opportunity presents itself. An opportunity is going to pop up, and they're going to give you the chance to show up for that. You know what I mean? Like, if you love, let's just say, if you love playing soccer. All right. Now, this is highly unlikely, but I'm just trying to give an example. What's another example I could give? Like if you're watching, if there's a play, right? And they're rehearsing, and you notice that, like, hey, this guy sucks at acting. Like, the guy on stage who's like trying to be an actor, it's like, yo, he sucks at acting. This is what he should be doing, and that opportunity presents itself for you to step in and to kind of like do the story, basically, or try to like step in there. I don't know. I don't really know what I'm trying to say. I'm saying it's like the opportunity presents itself where you can step in and do what you're good at, do what you love and what you feel great at. You know what I mean? And it always comes. There's always an opportunity. And for Remy, his opportunity was when he smelled that soup that Linguini destroyed, and he was like, oh, this sucks. And so he started tweaking with the soup, changing it, making it different, you know, trying to find ways to spice it up and make it delicious. That was his moment. And that was him really cooking. That was him really playing with all of the tools at his disposal, all of the ingredients, all of the spoons and different things and spices and herbs and stuff. Like he was just using anything and everything to do it. You know what I mean? And he was doing it well. He fixed that entire soup. It went out, and he impressed one of the critics. And because of that, because of his like opportunity came and he like acted on it, he was able to get to the next step, which was, oh wow, Linguini is now kind of on my side. He needs my help a little bit, and I'm gonna pull on this rabbit, pull on this rope and see where it goes. And then they work together. It's just so crazy how the story ends up, but in the end, it's like the both of them rely on each other to realize like their dreams or their potential, or to go above and beyond in what they want to do, you know? At least they end up in a place they didn't think they would end up. But they're both in the kitchen. They're both there. So anyways, let me think. Remy is just a great example of just being passionate and getting started and then following through. Sticking around and seeing what happens, you know what I mean? And your passions might push you away from friends and family, not push you away, but take you in a different direction, right? That's what happened to Remy, is that like he had to go in his own path and on his own way, do his own thing in order to become the best version of himself. Basically, he's no longer that, rat trying to. He's no longer just that rat, right? He's a chef now, a real chef. And obviously they try to hide him, you know what I mean? But he's a real chef now. At the start of the movie, he was just a rat getting chased. And by the end of the movie, he's a professional chef with his own restaurant. Because he's just that good. It's insane. And I imagine nobody would ever believe that something like that could happen. And then you meet people and you realize that something like that could happen. Not necessarily like specifically a rat becoming a chef, but somebody from the middle of nowhere has a love for cooking or has a passion for anything, and then they become so fixated on it, they become so obsessed with it, that they follow it all the way down to the place where it needs to be. They follow it all the way down, and then they get to be that thing. You know what I mean? And earlier I was talking about like the theater thing. I was like, well, you love acting, you can be an actor, or you can be a singer, or you can be a nurse or a doctor or a lawyer, right? Like we all work towards these things. And that's one of those moments in life that you have to kind of think about to yourself, which is, what am I passionate about? What do I want to be a part of? And can I be a part of it? And eventually you'll pull on that thread too, and you'll get your opportunity. You'll get your moment to be that. You know what I mean? But it all has to line up, and you have to be really confident and really brave to step in front of all of it and say, this is what I want, and I'm going to do it, And it might be crazy. It probably definitely is crazy, And it's just one of those takeaways from this movie, which is like, even if everybody wants to kill you, even if everybody hates you, even if at the place that you love, they reject you and they hate you and they want nothing to do with you, guess what? You can still make it. Like, Remy went into this movie, into a kitchen as a rat, almost got killed repeatedly, and he still showed up to that kitchen. He still showed up to work. He still tried to help out. Uh, it's crazy. It's crazy. And so then there's other success stories, you know what I mean? There's Linguini, you know? He showed up to the restaurant just trying to be a janitor, just trying to find a job, just trying to do something. And then cooking kind of just fell into his lap. It really wasn't his skill. It wasn't really his passion. The kitchen wasn't really something he wanted for himself, you know? And it's kind of hard to get, like, what does he want? You know, what does Linguini want out of being at the restaurant? And then we find out that he's actually the son of Gusteau. And then from there, we find out, like, he's not really good at cooking, you know, just innately, just naturally. You know what I'm saying? So then where do we go from here? You know, what is he good at? What does he want to do? And he realizes that he can be a good waiter. He can be a good busboy. He's not the chef that we all imagine ourselves to be. He's just this waiter guy, this busboy, whatever you want to call it, you know what I mean? And he can do it well, right? So with all of that in mind, by the end of the film, when we see that they have a new restaurant and stuff, it's probably on paper Linguini's, but it's actually Remy's. And I gotta be honest, I don't know what Remy really needs with money. He doesn't really need money. He's got food, he's got a place to sleep, he's got a job he loves. Like, what does he really need with money? So Linguini just kind of owns the restaurant, for sure, with Colette, obviously. But, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, Linguini's the one really raking in that dough. So, all of that is really just to, like, show you that he'd started out not really caring or really knowing about anything. He ends the movie owning his own restaurant, his own business, and long after, God, obviously, heaven forbid, Remy dies, that restaurant will still stay up with Colette and new chefs that'll take over from Colette and so on and so forth, you know what I mean? People wanting to learn more about cooking. And Linguini is going to be able to give them a home, give them a place to stay, somewhere to become a chef themselves. You know what I'm saying? So it's really cool stuff like that. And it's something that I don't think is talked about enough, is that Remy's lasting legacy is going to be that restaurant. Remy's lasting moments are going to be what he passes down to Colette, what he teaches her, and then what she teaches the next chefs, and the next ones, and the next ones, right? Really just upgrading all of the cooks in Paris to a higher level, to all cooks, to all chefs, because of his higher sense of smell and maybe sense of taste or stuff like that. You know what I mean? So it's just really cool. And this movie is really a one of one. One of one. There's nobody else who could have. There's no other cooking story as great as this. So, anyways, great movie. Love this movie. The cooking movie. I really can't find another one that matches this level of emotion, this level of comedy and style, as well as this movie. It's so dynamic and colorful. It's really uplifting, and I think it has a great message behind the film, and great characters, an amazing script. Everybody in this movie does a fantastic job. I just feel like it's awesome. You know what I mean? It really is an awesome movie in all aspects. And compared to, I guess, some of the newer Pixar movies, this one has a feel to it where it's like it feels so it feels so less like it's just meant for kids, and it feels more so like the the overall story and the theme and the message behind it is so widespread to all ages. You know what I mean? You can't just say it's a kids movie because it's like it's really meant for so many people. You know. Now you could probably say that about most kid movies and kid shows, but like sometimes they just don't come across. You know what I mean? But overall, great movie. Love this movie. Thank you guys so much for listening. Uh, when you're watching Ratatouille again, um, maybe think about like the logistics of like having that restaurant and what they're up against. You know what I mean? Think about like how everything came together. You know, how it all needed to be this way. How certain things had to have happened in order for it to turn out the way that it did. You know what I mean? Gusteau's isn't a failure; it's a success story for Remy. Now, what's a failure that's going to be a success for you? You know what I mean? Stuff like that. Think about in terms of the restaurant how you get to be a part of something great, and then obviously maybe it fails or it doesn't work out, but in the end, you get to take away something great from it and get to be great yourself. You know? I don't know. But thank you guys so much for listening. I'll talk to you guys all next time. Thank you.